This country has jumped onto a deadly, slippery slope this week, a trajectory which is about to bring down our prosperity, our economy, the lot. We're being told by two extremely reliable sources, Origin Energy's Frank Calabria and Alinta Energy's Jeff Demiri, that next year our power bills will skyrocket by 35%.
If you take all of the available information off, for instance, the future price of electricity, the price of network charges and the like, and we feed that through, it's a visible process, then that's what answer falls out the back end of that. So that's not a number that I've made up.
Yes, there are impacts from Russia's drip feeding of oil and gas to the world, but that's not why we will suffer in this way. As many of us here have been saying for years, in fact, for me, more than a decade in other media, we have blindly demonised our number one baseload power source, coal, to embrace unreliable renewable power. School kids and the less informed in Australia think, oh, it's how we'll save the planet. Rubbish. No one has ever done the homework on when that possible transmission was even feasible, because the political engineers in charge who should be doing the due diligence have become blind evangelists for solar and wind. You know that. Now, I don't want to harp on about how we've got here much more, how we lost the plot, because the bosses from Alinta and Origin know the truth, and they've just told us the truth. But I want all of us tonight to just look at what's coming up in our future by looking at reality in the United Kingdom right now. Britain is suffering in large part because of the same impractical ideology. They ditched most of their baseload power for a renewable goal. And with Russia's help, they have become a power basket case. You talk to the average Brit, and they're having to make decisions right now between heat and food, because according to the House of Commons libraries, power prices are on their way to a whopping 80% increase this month.
People can't afford to pay their bills. I don't know how anyone is going to survive this winter without sitting shivering in their homes. Bills have already doubled. They're looking to double again. It just doesn't make any sense.
And just in case you missed it, you know what the new British Prime Minister Liz Truss has been forced to do? Send the country into massive debt yet again by replicating what Boris Johnson did during COVID by bailing out businesses. She's capped power bills and the taxpayer foots the gap. And the bailout is costing the government there an estimated £40 billion, more than 70 billion Australian dollars. Can you imagine when Labor here is forced to do exactly the same on top of struggling with our already trillion-dollar debt? To prevent businesses folding, to prevent jobs being lost and the economy collapsing, they will pay for our power price rises because in this resource-rich country, which is the envy of the world, we've turned our back on baseload power and stupidly decided that windmills and solar panels would save us. When? No one did the homework. Listen to the chief climate change zealot, Chris Bowen, recently.
A renewable energy superpower won't be a concept. It'll be a lived reality. By 2030, we'll be genuine partners with the Pacific in ambitious action on climate change.
Oh, that smirk. And they said that Scott Morrison had a smirk. He leaves him for dead. And yet the science says even if Australia shut down all its CO2 emissions tomorrow, we would make an infinitesimal difference to the temperature of the planet. That's the science. And as I say, where's the scientific assessment of when we can make this fabulous transition to a renewable nirvana? Where is it? This was Opposition Leader Peter Dutton today, thumping the government's management of the cost of power.
The obsession by Chris Bowen to close down coal-fired generation, to make gas even more expensive than it needs to be, that is going to lead to a catastrophic outcome, not just price increases, as I say, but also unreliability in the system. And that is a real problem if you've got rolling blackouts in our country, not just for families, but for businesses.
There's more of the future. That's more of what we've got ahead of us. You can guarantee it. Now, in the UK, there's strike action over the government's answer to the power price crisis, which is further damaging the economy because families are being crushed by household bills and no one's bailing them out.
We were just going past the toy shops and I just kept the boy outside the shop because he's going to ask for toys. So should I buy him toy or should I buy him food?
Another glimpse of our future. It's happening now in Great Britain. So households in Australia, don't expect anyone else to bear the burden. That 35% increase will be paid by you and no one else. People in Britain are dying, look it up, because during this past summer they didn't cool their flats. And when winter hits in December, the same will apply. The vast majority will not dare turn on their heating. This is Australia's future. It's happening before our eyes in Britain. In this evangelical haste to save the planet, we have left ourselves unable to keep the lights on, and when supply is extremely low, demand explodes, prices soar. So much for Albo's $275 reduction in our power bills, which, as Peter Dutton pointed out today, he promised on no less than 97 occasions during the election campaign. He knew he couldn't deliver that. And there is no way we will see that in our lifetimes. The days of affordable power bills are over, unless we make really tough decisions about our sources of baseload power, not prospective power, not unreliable renewable power, real baseload power, including modular nuclear reactors. But I've got to say this, don't expect any of that courage from this mob. They're still praising the heavenly power of renewables like Bible-bashing evangelists.